Uh, right after the Trump speech, Anderson Cooper replayed the applause that Congress had given a Navy SEAL widow. And as she stood up there, some people dismiss the whole thing as cynical. My dad was in the military. And that moment really moved me and moved a lot of people. So I said this.
He became president of the United States in that moment, period. There are a lot of people who have a lot of reason to be frustrated with him, to be fearful of him, to be mad at him. But that was one of the most extraordinary moments you have ever seen in American politics, period.
Well, that was then. A couple of days later, Trump went back to like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs crazy. And anybody who was worried that he might start self-normalizing, you ain't got nothing to worry about today. So I could just move on, but I want to talk about this. First of all, in case it's not clear, I still oppose Trump. I'm still afraid of Trump. When I said he was becoming presidential, that wasn't just a compliment, that was a warning. I saw Trump as a serious threat from day one. Everybody else was laughing at him. And I was begging people, listen to me. This guy's serious as a heart attack. And people didn't listen. Listen, I thought he was a serious threat then. I think he's a threat now, today. But by now, I think you know something about me. I'm an emotional guy. I am. I've cried more on CNN than anybody else times 50. Y'all know that I'm emotional. And it was an emotional moment. And I'm proud of myself that I can still get teary-eyed even during a Trump speech. I'm proud of myself that I'm still human. And I'm glad that I'm honest enough to tell you what I really think, what I really feel, even if I know my best friend's gonna disown me and lose their mind, which they did. And if that ever changes, if I ever stop telling you my real truth in real time, no matter how messy it is, no matter how crazy it sounds, I don't deserve to be on TV anymore. That's what I'm here to do, is to give you my truth. Now, that said, I do understand why so many people were shocked and disappointed. Because for millions of people, and people I love, and I work with, and I know and I care about, Trump is the scariest villain of all time. You got people living in fear. And they don't want to hear Luke Skywalker talking about, oh, well, Darth Vader does have some nice things to say. They're not trying to hear that. And I hear you. But please hear me. I'm here trying to fight on two fronts and not just one. Because I think we face two dangers and not just one. Yes, there is a danger of normalizing Trump politically, just kind of resigning ourselves to all these attacks on people and facts. That's bad. We can't let that happen. But there is a second danger that nobody's talking about. Please listen to me. You didn't listen to me when I warned you about the first danger. Listen to me on this one. There's a danger that we all start to become Trump, that we normalize Trump emotionally. There's a danger that we all become fear-based and fear-driven, and we give in 100% to this whole us against them hysteria, that we close up our hearts. We just refuse to ever again take the risk that maybe there's still some good in some of the people we disagree with. If that happens, a form of Trumpism has been normalized in our hearts. And as a father and a human being, that worries me too. So look, I can honestly say that there is nobody that I'd rather have this kind of conversation with than the man I'm about to bring to the stage. The next guest has been sharing his truth for a long time, and we're all better off for it. Straight off the set of his other show, coming on my show, the best-selling author of Born to Crime, the host of The Daily Show, the one and the only Trevor Noah, up in the house. Oh, my goodness. Oh, here we go. Oh, I know I'm a star now. I'm a big deal now.
Thank you.
Hey, very good. Oh, man, it's so good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is nice.
I know. Look, hey, look, they came to see you, brother. They didn't come.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's bad for my self-esteem. Man, they didn't clap that much for me.
They're always here for you, man. They're always here for you.
That's good. So it's good to see you. Hey, look, let's talk about it. A lot of people thought that I had jumped the shark and joined the Trump administration in the tank. Were you one of them?
You know
Were
what?
you scared?
No, you know what I realized in that moment. So you remember during the debates,
Yes.
there were moments when Trump would connect with people, and I watched Trump do it through a different filter. I've always gone, when I see Trump, I see a stand-up comedian. He connects with audiences in the same way. He knows how to make you laugh in a moment where you didn't think you would. He knows how to broach a topic in a way that no one normally can.
Yeah.
You know, and during that moment with Ryan's wife, Trump even told a joke, and people laughed, people connected, and I was like, that is scary, man. That's good.
Yeah.
And when you watch Trump and what you said, my first instinct was, come again, man?
Yeah.
But then when I watched it, I realized what you were saying, and the honest truth is that he became presidential in that moment. What's not scary is that he became presidential in that moment. I think what's scary is that it is that easy to become presidential.
Right. Yeah, I feel you on that. Listen, you are somebody that I look at, I study. I'm trying to figure out how to, because you got a platform. You are a brother with a platform. I'm a brother with a platform.
Yeah.
It's not that many of us that have these opportunities.
That's
I'm
true.
gonna be real.
That's very true.
I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, that's true.
And so what I want to say to you is, I wake up worried, man. I feel the stress of feeling like I'm in a catch-22. I feel like we have to debunk Trump and all other people, phony people. It's not just Republicans. We got to debunk those folks. But I also worry that when we do what we do, are we adding to the polarization? Are we trying to fight polarization with polarization? Do you worry about that kind of stuff when you're doing your thing?
You know, sometimes I worry about it, but the thing I've come to realize is you've got to be careful that you don't push it so far that you are empathizing. You should understand where people are coming from, but be careful of putting yourself in their position, because then you will justify why people do what they do, things that you may not agree with. So when I'm making the show, I'm trying to find like-minded individuals who agree with what I'm saying. I'm also trying to find people who may slightly disagree, people who are in the middle. But what I think we got to be careful of is always going out and saying, no, everyone from everywhere can be changed, everyone can be turned. I think that's unrealistic.
Right. I think that's true.
That's not the world. So, you're having conversations, and sometimes it's having a conversation with someone you don't agree with to see if they see, maybe some of the shortcomings of their argument. But I'm not in the world going, I can change everybody and everyone can change me.
I think that's right. Look, the good thing, in a democracy, people don't have to agree. Dictatorship, you have to agree. That's the whole point of a dictatorship. You got to agree. Democracy, you don't have to agree. But I love it. But I do think you have to understand. And my big fear is we seem to be living in a world where we can't even understand each other. You be looking on your Facebook page and saying, did I go to high school with this person? You can't talk to your in-laws.
Yeah, but then, did you really understand them? That's the thing I ask myself, is I go, did you really understand them though? Or have we been living in a world where for a long time we've been glossing over everything? When you look at, let's look at something like what's happening to President Obama now. You look at Obamacare, you look at the accusations against him, you go, at some point, is it something beyond just the fact that they didn't like his policies? At some point you go, if it's unprecedented every time, what is the one thing about him that is unprecedented? And you start to look at this and you go, why are we so afraid to call these things out?
Are you saying it's because he's African American?
Oh, I didn't even notice. Is that what you were talking about? I didn't even notice. Yeah, of course I'm talking about that, man.
Yeah.
Of course I'm talking about that.
Right.
At some point, you got to acknowledge it. You got to go like, okay, this is different. This is a black man. We know for a fact there are many Americans who say, I do not want to have Obamacare because it is named Obamacare. And you go, but it's not named Obamacare. People explicitly called it that as a nickname to make you not like it. And now what's scarier? The fact that they did that, or the fact that they knew if they did that, you would be opposed to it? That's frightening. Because politicians in America have learned how to harness hatreds and fears that people possess to get to their ends.
I am trying. You said you can't change everybody, and I agree with that. I think the struggle is different. I don't reach out because I'm trying to change somebody else or I'm trying to make them be like me. I'm trying to reach out so I don't let this Trumpist environment turn me into something I don't want to be. I'm concerned that the overall environment of hatred and vitriol means that I might start becoming what I'm fighting. I don't want to feed what I'm fighting. See what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's not that I'm not trying to change the people I meet. I'm trying to make sure I don't change.
But then,
I want to keep loving folks.
is that what you think Trumpism is, though?
What do you mean?
Because if I watch Trump, I feel like Trump is about the flip-flopping and the faux reaching out. Trump is about posing with the historically black college leaders and going, look at all the black colleges that we've gathered here. Did you hear them out? Oh, no, they don't get to talk. We're not actually going to do anything, but I took the picture.
Yeah.
I'm reaching out.
Tricky.
The faux reach out is Trump's game plan. That's what Trump does. Look at me with Obama. We're friends. Oh, and by the way, he's a criminal who tapped my phone. Like, is that a real reach? I feel like that's the Trumpism, is going, one day I'm happy, the next day I'm not. You know, Rand Paul, he's a weird-looking guy. Now he's my friend who will agree on Obamacare. I go, that's Trumpism to me.
That's Trumpism.
Is going, the fight ends with love, the fight ends with love. It's reality TV.
Well, listen, I want to get other voices in here. You have all these people who came to see you, obviously, and not me, so they didn't clap for me. And we have another Van in the house. That's not usual. Van White wants to talk, and he's got a button on I hope he tells you about.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
Good evening.
My father marched in the March on Washington and passed away several years ago. But I do carry his button with me, the button that about 250,000 people wore that day. But I think about the marches today in cities like Rochester, Ferguson, Baltimore, New York City, and I got to be honest, my feeling is that we're reflecting some of the same protests and challenges that my dad and my grandparents faced 50, 60 years ago. So the question is, do the marches of today, are they more or less effective than the marches in the 1960s? And if you think that's so, should we be doing something different?
Well, that's a difficult question. I mean, there is no definitive way to measure the effectiveness of a march. If you look at South Africa, marches upon marches upon marches combined with protests from the outside and the inside, I think culminated in a political change that took place in the country. You can't deny that in America, politicians are still swayed by their perception in the public. So when it comes to marching, I don't know if it changes anything immediately. Yeah. I don't know if it is extremely effective if it's just one march, but you can't deny that it has an effect. You can't deny that people pay attention to it. You can't deny that people see this, and politicians see it as well. So if someone said to me, should I march or should I not march, I would go, march. Yeah. Because there may not be another way that you will be heard. Yeah. You know, that's one way for the country to see that it is not in a normal place, even if it's just for that. Even if it's not for Americans to go, all right, it's business as usual. Because you can't deny that at the end of those marches, the civil rights movement, saw the reaping of those rewards. In South Africa, we saw the results of that. Was it only from the marches? No, but we can't deny that the marches were a big part of why that happened.
Beautiful. Well, listen, we're just getting started on this. I want you to stick around. We got more to talk about.
I was leaving.
No, you can't go. Lock the door. Lock the door. When we come back, the secret to President Trump's success so far, and why a lot of liberals just can't see it, even though it's sitting right there in their Twitter accounts. When we get back. Welcome back to The Messy Truth. Now, don't worry, Trevor Noah is still here. He's, of course, the host of Comedy Central's The Daily Show, the author of Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood, an amazing book, not a funny book, actually a moving book. Now, listen, I have been going all over the country. I've been talking to Trump supporters, and I'm learning a lot. And one thing I want to share. Progressives tend to focus, when we critique him, on politeness and proper protocols, okay? There's a proper way to deal with reporters or intelligence agencies or judges. And then when Trump breaks the rules, we just start fanning ourselves and fainting and freaking out and handing out all these protocol violations. And for his supporters, his appeal has nothing to do with protocol. It has everything to do, though, with pride and prosperity. He's saying, I want you to be proud of the country and have a job. So liberals seem to only see like the crazy tweets, and then we act like that's all he's doing. But his supporters actually ignore those tweets. You want to know the tweets they cherish? The one where he's taking credit for the stock market that's rising and their 401ks doing better, or the jobs he so-called saved. If progressives want to understand Trump supporters, those are the tweets we need to be paying attention to. So I want to bring you back into the conversation, because we were talking a little bit at the break. I sometimes think that liberals just completely miss the appeal. Why is he having this appeal?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of two things. Like you said, we see the madness.
Yes.
And we focus on that. And then you don't focus on why he connects. You can't expect people to disavow him when that's the reason they voted him in.
Yeah.
Like the one thing a lot of people struggle with is Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. If you voted for Trump right now, you're like, yeah, this is what I voted for.
But I think he's driving liberals insane. And I mean that. I mean, I think he is. I think he is. And I think that I'm seeing more people now. I'm seeing liberals and progressives now so mad and distracted and depressed. And I'm like, I don't want y'all to be in charge either. So, am I wrong?
When people say that, I go like, what is an extreme liberal? Like, what is that?
They want
I genuinely
healthcare.
know. So what's the thing you're afraid of? Healthcare for everybody? Free education? Is that what you're afraid of? Is that really what people are afraid of? We know what an extreme right-wing person does, but I go like realistically, realistically, when people are saying this, they're going, it's the same. There's extremes on either end, and I go, yes, but what is one extreme shown us that they're capable of repeatedly? That is what I'm saying. When it comes to Trump, you have somebody who's saying these things, and you cannot deny that rhetoric oftentimes spills over. So yes, it may be protocol, it may be boring, but it's also the thing that stops you from falsely accusing the president who came before you of wiretapping you. Like that's what protocol almost helps you stop.
That's beyond protocol. That's just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But look, I want to get more. I know y'all want to get in, and I want you to hear from our good friend Stephanie, who's got a point she wants to make, totally different than the point we've been making.
Yeah. Hi, Trevor. How are you?
Stephanie.
Hi. My question has to do with the boycott recently for the Oscars. I was just wondering, why do the Hollywood elite think that their opinions matter on the issue of politics, and that they represent the American people? And why do they think they can tell the American people how they should think?
Well, I think the question you should ask maybe should be framed the other way is, why have the American people given the Hollywood elite the impression for so long that they look to them to shape and give their opinions on their behalf? You know, we can't deny that we live in a country where if you are a celebrity, people are looking to you for those opinions. Right. You know, people report on it every day. This celebrity said this about Trump. This celebrity said that. And then what happens if a celebrity doesn't speak out? People say, why aren't you using your platform? Why don't you speak out? Then the person speaks out. They go, shut up. Don't speak out. Like, these are human beings too. You know, at the end of the day, they vote. At the end of the day, they are part of something. Have they made a lot of money doing what they do? Yes. But I think a lot of people appreciate it. Some people go overboard. Some people are idiots. Whether you're a celebrity or not, people have to understand that. And I think it's messy, but it's the truth.
I have one more follow-up question. If, for example, my husband and I are involved in politics in Arizona at the grassroots level, if you have to look at, like, when you're elected, you're kind of like in that position, the people elected you. So is that kind of like a different platform than it would say Hollywood?
Oh, definitely, because I mean, at the end of the day, Hollywood there's a confluence of factors that isn't directly related to people voting for you. Right.
Yeah.
You know,
well, people kind of vote with their dollars. But what do you think? So when you see a Meryl Streep say what she says, you know, I get happy, you know, myself. I like it, but. What about the people who never feel they're ever going to be a part of that A-list crowd? Do you think there's a danger that by having that happen, or by having the dude at the Hamilton play do what he does, that it actually helps to build Trump?
Well, this is what I struggle to understand. I understand it, but I struggle to get how it is adopted by people. When people say the Hollywood elite, I go, who is your president? I struggle with that concept. I go, Donald Trump is literally a TV reality star. He is literally everything that people are saying they hate. I don't.
Too many facts. You're being too logical.
You're being too logical. I don't mind. I don't mind. I've never hated the fact that somebody's on TV or an elite or I don't mind that. But what I'm saying is, why would you hate the very thing that you have elected?
Well, maybe Eric can help us understand. Eric is a African American Trump supporter. He has something to say.
Yes, and thank you for being here as well, Trevor. I'm one of the 16% of African American males, college educated, who did vote for Trump. So I'm really a minority.
in France waving a knife? Did I? We don't know. I mean, you know, we've seen decisions now that he may have shown that he slipped.
I thought he was saying economics as well.
But economics-wise.
And you have to admit, African Americans didn't do as well under Obama.
Infested. Yeah.
But let me ask you, brother. So, don't you sometimes get offended when it's always inner city, inner city? You somehow got past that. How can you get past that? I get insulted by it. I mean, I love the inner city, but damn, we're not all there.
It is a hard thing. I think the hardest thing he's got to do is that he is on the outside. And I think he does need to listen, like you said, to what's really going on in the black community. And I think that we want to have safe communities. We want to have more economics. So I think he probably needs to come into our communities and listen and find out exactly, talk to those families and find out what's really going on. Don't listen to the talking heads, unfortunately. Don't listen to the politicians. Go into those communities and find out what's really going on.
Trevor.
You know what I love about this? You asked me the question, but you have the answer. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Very good. Trevor, thank you, brother. I do think, you know, I've done a lot of work in Oakland. I've done a lot of work in our communities. I do think that we leave a door open for Republicans to point at the funerals and to point at the candlelight vigils and to point to the teddy bears on the sidewalk and say, see, those Democrats don't do anything for you. They're just using your vote. Now, I haven't seen the Republicans do anything. But as much as we have marched, and I will continue to march to make sure that we're not victimized by police brutality, a lot of times, at least from a media point of view, our pain and our suffering on the inner violence, the violence within our community, either gets ignored or gets almost Democrats duck and hide about it. Don't you think that at some point we should come together at least on that issue?
I don't think anyone would disagree with that, Van. Yeah. I think just because there is inner city violence does not mean that you should say that all black people are living in that situation.
No, I'm not saying that.
No. Just because black people have managed to find a new life that is better and maybe they don't live in the inner city does not mean you have to ignore what is happening in many places in the world. But I do think this. You cannot deny that the back and forth has been shown. And it's weird to me because you go, if you just read the books, if you just understand, you know, if you look at what over-policing does to communities, not just in America.
Please talk.
Over-policing and under-policing have been shown consistently to create a distrust, you know, in the community. People no longer see the police as being protectors and servers because all they see them as is enforcers and a militarized force that keeps them down. And so if they don't respect the police, they take the law into their own hands. They take the law into their own hands. The cycle perpetuates over and over and over again.
I want to talk about some solutions when we get back. Please stick around. We lock the door again. Don't let him out. I took a road trip a little while ago to the front line of America's border battles, another place we got a lot of funerals. And I talked to Latino supporters of President Trump. What I found going to surprise you when we get back. Welcome back to The Messy Truth. I'm Van Jones. Trevor Noah still here with me. Listen, during his campaign rallies, Donald Trump could always rely on his one big moment talking about that wall he was going to build. Meanwhile, down on the actual border, millions of people are living on the front line of the whole border battle, and they're dealing with real-life immigration issues every single day. And a lot of them are Trump voters, and a lot of those Trump voters are Latinos. So I took a road trip to meet with some of them. This is where the debate over border security starts. The Arizona-Mexico border. I wanted to see it for myself and talk to the people who live this reality every day, like the Pinal County Sheriff's deputies. If someone is able to go under, over, or around the border fence, they walk through this desert, aim for the highways, and disappear into the United States. Why do you think they're so desperate to come here? Not the ones who are coming to bring the drugs, but the other ones who are coming up here.
It's America. I mean, what better place to come? I don't know what their personal motivation is to come over here, whether that be work or family or whatever. But they're motivated by something, because it's not an easy trek.
And on this day, a drug bust, which is all too common, 600 pounds of pot in the back of a truck.
So this is actually packaged for distribution to avoid dog detection.
So that's why it doesn't smell.
Yep, now it will. So
they got the whole routine. So yeah, well, that smells. Out here, law enforcement doesn't know who's around the corner, whether it's a desperate family or an armed drug smuggler. The danger is real.
But all these mountains back up in here and over here have scouts on them.
And while many people walk through here to find a better life, they're mixed in with smugglers who would do anything to avoid getting caught. Man, if these guys are going through all this just to get to America, like, you know, doesn't your heart break sometimes? You see these guys and you think to yourself,
No, my heart doesn't break for them. No, because they're doing something illegal. What's heartbreaking for me is when this stuff gets out to its destination and starts getting out, peddled to kids and, the citizens of the United States. That's what's heartbreaking.
And inside Sammy's Mexican Grill, Latinos talk to me about their frustration with the new administration.
I mean, I personally take offense, and I'm worried and I'm scared, and it's terrifying.
But not everyone in here agrees, including the owners. They support the president now, and they backed his candidacy, which included displaying a big sign of support. Why do you think that sign caused so much heartburn for some Latinos?
Since the beginning, Mr. Trump, or President Trump now, was labeled as racist. So anyone who supported him was also labeled a racist. And they were saying, how can another Latino can support Donald Trump at all?
So what's the answer?
To me, his ideas are very important, not only for me, for my kids' future, but for the country as a whole.
Latinos who love Trump. You're just like stunned.
I'm not stunned at all.
Yeah.
It makes sense. People are more complicated than we like to believe. They're more complex. I met a woman during the Cleveland RNC, and she was cheering for Trump. And I said to her, hey, if you don't mind me asking, you are a Latino woman, you are Latina, and you are cheering for Trump. Why? And she said, I don't believe in these other policies because my family is waiting to legally come to this country, and I'm seeing other immigrants skip the line and come in.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm supporting Trump. And I understood what she was saying.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was down on the border, and I want people to see, because a lot of liberals don't ever see the actual border enforcement. One thing that's happening now is the drug cartels are taking the good folks who are just coming here to do good work, and they're forcing them to carry drugs, and that's messing up the whole thing down there. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and yet the people who come here, who work so hard to make America better, not making America worse, are caught in a crossfire, and nobody's really hearing their stories. And I want to talk to someone who can put a human face on this. Please welcome Carlos, who's here, his wife. Give a round of applause. This brother is unbelievable. First of all, thank you for being here. Elizabeth, thank you for being here. His wife is here. This is a story that is shocking to a lot of people. It's amazing to a lot of people. You are facing deportation. You were just in a detention center for a couple of weeks. You could still be taken out of the country. How are you feeling?
I think I just feel wonderful about all the support that I got from my little community in West Frankfort, Illinois.
Yes.
And I think about the difference that I make in my community. And if I made that change and that impact on my community, I can make an impact all over the United States too.
The reason that he's saying this is because even though the county that he lives in voted 70% for Trump, Trump voters came out of the woodwork and fought to get him free, which is an unbelievable thing. Why do you think that they did that? I mean, you had the whole town of Trump voters saying, not my guy. How did you do it and why?
West Frankfurt stands for the American values.
American values.
American values.
Yeah.
They do believe that.
Well, you have a friend here, Tim. Please stand up and give Tim a round of applause. Tim was one of the Trump voters who stood up for Carlos. I told you it's messy. It's messy. Now I am confused, sir. Trump said he was going to deport a bunch of people. Trump said he was going to build a wall. And then you voted for the man. And then he started deporting people. And you said, no. I'm confused.
Well, I really wasn't confused myself. Obviously, with any politician, you don't stand for everything that they're going to preach and try to portray to you. The immigration policy to me is not, building the wall is pretty ludicrous to me. That's not a solution to the problem. Once you step back and maybe look at immigration reform and address the real issues, that's where he needs to be putting his resources.
So it's such an amazing story, and it's gotten so much attention. Why? I really want to know. I was joking around, but I really want to know. I can look at you, I can tell you're an incredible human being. Why did you vote for Trump, and why did you stick up for this guy? Tell me.
Well, with the two candidates that were running, in my opinion, Donald Trump was the one that was more for a decision for me.
What's you like about it?
Well, I mean, for number one, our area is very dependent on coal mining.
Wow.
And so his coal mining legislation was very important to us. My daughter's married to a coal miner.
Say no more. Say no more. But this guy's an extraordinary guy, and you stood up for him, and the whole town. How did it make you feel? I mean, elected officials, everybody, how did it make you feel when that happened?
That I'm one of them.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. I told you, I get emotional. Look, how about that? Trump voters coming out in droves to support an undocumented person. When it's easy to go rah-rah when it's on TV or when you're ballot box, but then when it comes to your neighbor, totally different.
Well, it's two things. One, you go, not every Trump supporter is racist. You could even argue that most of them are not racist. And then I would turn that and say, then for Trump supporters, why would you say all immigrants are criminals? Would you not say that same logic should be applied to them? Another thing that you got to look at is what you said is the truth of it all. You felt like one of them. And that is the thing that separates us so many times is when we don't see the victim of a decision, when we don't see the human being on the other side, we don't see them as being them. We see it as an idea. And in South Africa during apartheid, one of the most powerful things that apartheid was able to do was convince even black people that they were different from each other. And when people are separated, they go, oh, I don't care about those Mexicans. Those Mexicans are criminals, they're immigrants. But you saw a man, you saw a human being, you saw a brother in your community. And that's essentially what it boils down to, is we don't put faces to this. A lot of the time, politicians put forth ideas, but there are human beings on the other sides of the ideas. It's not the coal industry. It is a coal miner who is a man. Yeah. It is not a Mexican. It is a man who is part of a community who is here with his wife. And that's what people seem to miss in all of the political debates, is that there are people on the other side of what is happening.
Beautiful. Man, I love you, man. I do. Trevor Noah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Get this man's book, by the way. If you think he's profound here, get the book. It's unbelievable. When we come back, President Trump promised during the campaign he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Hey, anyway, when we get back, we're going to have the Trump campaign's chief whisperer on the economy try to explain what is going on. Stephen Moore will be here next. Stephen Moore.